Hello and welcome back to Workshop Wednesday. Thanks for joining me today in my studio workshop. And today I'm going to be upcycling this sweater that I have on. Now I do have it on today, but it's actually a little uncomfortable just due to the fact that the sleeves are so tight. This is a Dolman style sweater, which means that the sleeves are cut on, or the sleeve head, the start of the sleeve is cut in one piece with the body over just a curve under the arm, and then the long sleeve is attached with a seam attachment. And Dolman sleeves have become really popular in fast fashion over the last couple of years. They are super easy to make. The pattern making is easier, the sewing of them is easier, but one common problem that I do find a lot of Dolman style tops have is that the junction where the sleeve is attached is too tight, whether it's just tight because of the stitching or the pattern itself is too small. I really don't understand why don't they flare the sleeve a little bit or have it a little bit wider where it attaches for the fullness of your bicep and for mobility, and then taper it down to the sides. It seems like oftentimes Dolman style tops have a sleeve that's just one size or consistent all the way along the whole length. So my idea to kind of save this top and make it more comfortable so that I'll actually pull it out and wear it and it won't just sit in my closet is I'm going to add a strip of lace that goes from the shoulder and right down through the whole arm, just extending or opening up the circumference of the sleeve a whole inch kind of as it goes down. Now, since I'm doing that work anyways and going to be opening up that entire shoulder seam, I thought I might as well take out a little bit of the length in this neckline as well, because it's super wide, it just slides around. So I'm going to take out about 1.5 inches kind of doubled, so 3 inches in total on each shoulder, since I'm also adding that 1 inch back in, and gonna just tighten up the neckline just a little bit as well. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a sweater and it is actually a knit sweater. So this piece was actually knit in the size, in the shape that it needed to be on the knitting machine, and then they just stitched up the seams. So the edges of this seam allowance are not cut at all, and if I do cut them to adjust it, it would probably ravel pretty extreme. So I'm gonna try and just leave the edges alone. I'm going to unstitch the seam. It's probably kind of a chain stitch. Most knit garments are stitched with a chain stitch so that they can have a straight stitch but has a little bit of give to it so it doesn't break when you're putting the garment on or in use. So I'm going to slip this off and I'll meet you back at my cutting table. Now that I've flipped it around, you can see the seam allowance a little bit better here where the sleeve is actually attached to the body of the sweater. Since this is a knit sweater again, and I don't want to incur any kind of raveling, I'm also going to just remove the entire sleeve and flip it around so that I can use this seam allowance, open up this seam allowance in the underarm of the sleeve and use it for the top of my sleeve where I insert that lace panel. So I'm going to take a closer look at the actual stitching here and find the end of the loop where I can start to unravel the chain stitch. So here I've separated the sleeves from the bodice, and I've also opened up the shoulder seam on the bodice as well. It was a chain stitch, so it was really great since black is always so much fun to unstitch. It's always so hard to see. And once you get the right end of your chain stitch, you can just literally unravel it and it's good to go. I also have the lace cut out, and now we're going to head to the sewing room and start piecing this back together. Here we are at my FAP sewing machine again because it's still threaded in black, but today I'm going to make sure that I have a needle, a ballpoint needle that's good for knits and jerseys, as I definitely don't want to break any of the threads in this knit sweater as I'm stitching it. So I'm switching out the needle, and then I'm going to start by attaching the sleeves back on, but the other way around. Now that I have the sleeves attached, the next step is to add the lace insert. So I've cut this strip of lace a little bit long, so I'm going to let it hang over a little bit on both the top at the neckline and down at the sleeve. And then at the neckline, I'm also going to remember to remove that little bit of extra width that I want just pulled out of the neckline. Now that I've stitched the first half of the lace to one side of the sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other side to close up the sleeve, and then I'll do the same 2 steps to the other side. I'm really loving how this is looking with the lace insert. And now at the top here, I'm just going to fold it over a couple of times, and I think I'm going to match the width of the band finish kind of on the neckline, and then also the width of the cuff. So the cuff is a little bit wider, so I think I'll fold it over a little bit wider where I fold it up and stitch it over just to kind of line up with that cuff, and same with the top. And then the other thing that I'm thinking I'm going to do, since this lace doesn't have any stretch to it, I'm also going to top stitch right along the edge of the sweater just to keep that seam allowance flipped in the direction of the sweater, so it's not rolling out and showing where the lace is supposed to be exposed. Yeah, if I wanted to keep this seam nice and stretchy, I might not want to top stitch it, or I would at least want to top stitch it with a chain stitch that is also stretchy. But here in this case, I think the best finish would be a little top stitch to direct that seam allowance even after it's been washed, and it's not going to have any drawbacks on this sweater. So, what do you think of this upcycle? I love it, and I'm so excited to actually be able to wear this top. It's still a fitted sleeve, but it's no longer that restricting kind of itchy, cut off my circulation feel, especially across the seam, this sleeve, bodice junction, and then going down the arm. I just have that little bit of extra space and left a little bit of the elasticity or stretch of the knit is still available for movement and comfort, and it's a little bit more fancy, a little bit more peppy. I really love when you have different colors underneath the lace, whether it's skin or a contrasting fabric. It's always neat to kind of pop that design from the lace. Well, that brings us to the end of today's Workshop Wednesday and this upcycle remake tutorial. I'd love to hear from you if you have any comments or questions or something you would like me to feature in a Workshop Wednesday episode. I'd love to hear from you either on the comments below or send me an email. Until next week, thanks for joining me and happy sewing.